Over 57,000 people applied for BDO in 2022. Let's talk about how you can pass their first round interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another video to help you get hired. Today we're going to be talking about the professional services firm BDO, which is the 5th largest professional services firm here in the UK, which has carved a niche for itself in serving companies in the AIM market and also high growth startups, and recently dramatically increased its size from 6,000 to 7,000 people. We're going to start off by talking about 5 fast facts about the company. Then we're going to talk about the process that you can expect in their first stage interview. And finally, we're going to cover 7 common questions that you're probably going to get asked based upon our research from successful candidates over the past couple of months. And finally, I'm going to end off with a bonus where I'm going to be talking about what does make BDO different from the other Big 4 companies, which is a question that it seems like a lot of people struggled with. Fact number 1, 100% of BDO's offices are carbon neutral. Fact number 2, in 2022, BDO reported a revenue of just over £650 million, which was an 11% growth from the year before, and each of their 212 partners took home £650,000. Fact number 3, in 2022, BDO, its staff and partners contributed over £300 million in taxes to HMRC. Fact number 4, a new development for BDO, which was reported in the 2022 annual report, was BDO Labs, a special internal division which has been set up to create digital products and streamline services using technology. They had already reported carrying out 60 experiments and had over 300 ideas which they were due to investigate. Fact number 5, 24% of BDO's partners are women, and there is an aim by 2030 to increase that number to 30%. So what does the first stage interview process for BDO look like? Well, this is going to be slightly different. If you're a professional, it's much more likely that you're going to go through what's known as a HR screener. This is where somebody from HR or maybe from an external recruitment agency would give you a 15-minute call and essentially walk through your CV and your experience. These calls tend to be really short and to the point and really are there just to screen out candidates who clearly don't have the experience or the qualification that is required to do the job, but may have just slipped through the net. However, if you're a graduate or an intern, you can expect an online job simulation, video interview questions, and potentially a case study as well. Now, of course, this varies based upon the role that you're applying to. So what are the 7 most common questions that you could expect to get in your BDO interview? Now, this was based on our research from well over 100 candidates from the past 3 months who were interviewed for BDO all across the world. Question number 1, why BDO? Now, for BDO, in particular for this question, it's really important that you relate your answer in part to their core values, which are responsible, genuine, collaborative, and bold. This was something that was really stressed and what many of the candidates reported from their feedback. Another thing to remember when answering a question like this is just to think about 5 fast facts. Just like the facts that I gave you at the start of this video, you'll notice that all of these were quite specific. Now, you could learn this from your research, from your annual report, or if you just want the research done for you, then make sure you check out our Pass the Interview pack down in the description below, where we've provided over 90 facts for you to use. What's really important is that they're specific and not generic. A really common mistake that I tend to hear with this question is that people will give answers that are quite vague. The company is world famous, it has great training, it would be an honor to work there, you'd work with brilliant people. This is something that you could say about any company. And a really common reason why people fail at interviews is they just don't put in the research. Question number 2, why this role and this service line? It's really important when you apply for a job that you have the job description to hand. I recommend printing it off or having it in a document that you can use to refer to in your interview preparation. The reason being is that the job description is really going to give you everything that you need to know about doing the job. They're going to talk about the type of person that you should be, the things that you're going to be doing, the skills that are necessary, and also desirable skills that you might need to have. Now from this, you can really use it to do three things. Number one, you can explain what you're going to do in the job, which they're going to be looking for. Number two, you can match your skills and experiences to the job that is required. So you can pick out 2 or 3 skills that you think are really important for the job, and you can demonstrate this with proof by giving an experience that you've had which matches that skill. For example, you could say, well, I've got great leadership ability because I was the captain of my football team 2 years in a row at university. And the third thing that you can do is that you can almost predict the questions that you're going to get asked in an interview. Now, a company is going to base their interview around the core values and also around the skills that are required. They're not going to deviate too much from that. No matter what type of questions you think you're going to get, they're going to be related to those 2 things. So having a really good understanding of the job description will allow you to easily answer this question and predict other questions as well. Question number 3, how would you talk to someone who has rejected a new technology? Well, this was a really interesting question and is one that only really seems to come up for BDO. Let's use an example to explain how to answer this question, and one that I think we can all relate to. My mum loves to go to the bank. She likes to go to the bank to pay money in, to get money out, and she even still has a checkbook. Now say for example I was to say to her, hi mum, you know that your bank actually has a banking app and that you could do all of your banking online. And she would probably respond and saying, well, I don't know how to use it, don't understand it, could get scammed, could get locked out of my bank account, I could lose my money. Now essentially my mum's response to new technology is, I'm scared, I don't understand this, I prefer to do the thing that I'm already doing. So how could I get her to use this technology? Well, first of all, I could explain it to her in terms that she would understand. Instead of you having to walk all the way to the bank and all the way back, you can actually do a lot of your banking on your phone. It's really secure because only you have access to the banking app. No one else can access it, so your money is secure. It's really easy to use. Why don't I sit here with you and show you how you log in, how you can pay people, and how you can get paid by other people. And if you have any problems, you could give me a call or you could call the bank on this number. So what I'm doing is I'm removing any fear or doubt about the new technology by explaining to them how to use it, showing them how it's more convenient, more useful and easier for them once they get past the initial resistance of how to use that technology. And that's how we would introduce someone, and also offering them assistance along the way, because a lot of people I tend to find with new technology think, well, that's all well and good, but what if I have a problem? What do I do then? Or what if this is faster but actually ends up taking longer because I'm locked out of my phone, or I can't do the thing that I was doing previously, and this has actually made things worse or harder for me to do. Question number 4, what approach do you take when developing new ideas? Now this is an example of a strength question, which BDO had quite a few questions that were like this that were reported by different questions. So what's the difference between a strength question and a competency question? Well, strength questions are reasonably popular in first round interviews these days, but you can structure them in exactly the same way. And the way that you do that is that first of all you would give your response, which is kind of just like you're having a conversation. If someone says, what's your approach to developing new ideas? You'd probably sit back and think, well, first of all I like to learn what there is, and then I would sit down, do some brainstorming, see how I can improve, see maybe how I can cross over ideas from different industries or different facets, which is outside the scope of my purview. And then I would put all these things together and try to match them up to the solution that I'm trying to solve. Maybe I would discuss that with other people or seek out experts in that field so that I could learn from them, and then slowly start to whittle down those ideas into ones that sound good, to ones that are executable, and also that I feel could be done by us. And most importantly, is suitable for the problem at hand. And then you can provide an example, and you can answer this just like any competency question, where you provide the situation, the task, the action, and then the result. Question number 5, how do you handle tight deadlines and high workloads? So again, this is another example of a strength question, so we can just answer this off the cuff. Well, I find that I work really well under pressure, but I can only do that if I'm super organized. So I'll take the time to really plan out all my deadlines, prepare the work that needs to be done, make sure that I'm diarized in terms of the things that I'm doing, be willing to maybe do a little bit more work than I would do normally, which means that maybe I won't be able to go out so many evenings, or there's some things that I'm going to have to put off to the weekend. And then I would start to churn through my work and make sure that I'm doing that without distraction. And then you can provide an example. It could be you balancing your studies with your job, with your personal life, or just balancing multiple projects at work. Question number 6, how do you communicate and interact with customers? So here's another strength-based question. This is great for anybody who's had any type of service-based or client-based job. If you haven't, then you can really just talk about your experience at university working with other people, whether that be in your studies or through extracurricular activities. How do you interact with customers? Well, I find that I interact with them really well. First of all, what's really important is that I listen to them. I understand what are their concerns, what are their problems. I make sure that I go into that meeting or that engagement and that I'm really prepared. I communicate with them clearly about what I'm going to do so that I can set an expectation, and I make sure I build trust in the relationship by delivering on the commitments that I've made to that customer, whoever they are and whatever it's for. Question number 7. Can you tell me about a time when you had to balance a workload and what you did? So this is more of a straight competency question, and I think anybody, whether you're a graduate student, a professional, or wherever you are in your life watching this video, can relate to having to balance different things. I have to balance work and managing people and projects and the things that I do outside of work, professionally and also non-professionally. And what does it really come down to? Well, 2 things in my personal experience. Probably the most important thing is just being organized. I try and sit down and make sure that I have a look over my week the weekend before. I'm really clear in my mind about what it is that I'm going to do. And the second thing I tend to do is that I say no. If something comes up during that week, unless for me it's like a hell yes, I would love to do that, or this is a fantastic opportunity, I already accept the fact that I've really got my week set out in my mind. And anybody that knows me, any of my friends or people that have interactions with me, know that either they can book me for a calendar or they'll have to give me at least a couple of days notice to make sure that I can fit them in. If someone was to ring me the day before, unless it's something that I really want to do, my general response tends to be no. And what I find is people will either adapt to that or they tend to fall away, either of which is absolutely fine based upon my schedule. Otherwise, the thing that is getting done just tends to be the thing that is kind of poking me the most, which is not necessarily the most important or most urgent thing that I need to do. It just appears to be urgent because somebody's bugging me. So finally, as promised, I wanted to walk through how to answer the question, why BDO instead of the Big Four? And also, this is a really good framework to think of any type of question, which is why a smaller company instead of a bigger company? Or why a less prestigious or famous company rather than a more prestigious or famous company? And really, what it come down to? Well, it could come down to financials, but I think a lot of times actually it comes down to culture, it comes down to transparency, and it comes down to the things that are done outside of work. You know, one professional services company will deliver pretty much the same services as another professional services company at a particular level. So we need to look at things that are slightly one step removed from this in order to construct a really good answer. And I actually wrote down some notes just to give you an idea of just, some ideas that you could think about. You could talk about growth, the fact that BDO has increased its headcount by 16% from 6,000 to 7,000 people. The fact that they promoted 2,900 people, which is kind of astonishing when you think about the fact that there are 7,000 people in the company. That they invested over £50 million into training and people. That 91% of people at BDO feel able to be themselves at work. BDO Labs, that innovation that they're doing, that internal digital product and services team. The fact that they're publicly speaking about gender and ethnicity pay gaps, which is not something that I see so often. That 87% of staff feel they make a difference. 73% have a strong sense of belonging, and 84% feel proud of BDO. And these are all figures that I got from their culture and impact report. Some companies will talk about a transparency report, and many more companies, as they're more concentrating about their ESG work, and, you know, seeming to be more transparent and open about what they do, will publish these things openly. And that's a really good way to differentiate the company that you work for from maybe its more famous or more well-known peers. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to find out more and get even more research, facts, and everything that you need to do the best in your BDO interview, then check out our Pass the Interview pack down below. Please think about liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and drop us a comment down below to let us know how we did, how your interview went, and whether this video is helpful. Good luck.